When I was looking into buying a TRAK kayak, I wanted to see some reviews, but I didn't want to see someone's review when they'd just taken the boat out of the box and taken it out onto the water for a day or even a couple of days. I didn't even want to see a review from someone who was sponsored by TRAK, and I couldn't really find any good reviews out there. So I'm hoping that this review will be the review that I wish I had before deciding to buy the TRAK. After paddling around 1,800 kilometres from Manitoulin Island in Lake Huron through to Kenora in Ontario, I feel like I've got to know this boat very well, and it's handled a lot of really unique conditions, and I'm hoping this review might help anyone else who's looking for a versatile boat that they can take in open water and also maybe portage across the interior. So let's start off with the pros first. Firstly, I made it. The boat made it. It's here in one piece. I'm here in one piece. So that's great. I was actually really impressed with how the boat handled all the conditions and with how versatile it was. So, I paddled the North Shore of Lake Superior, which has a reputation for having some relatively big conditions. I did get waves of, over 1.5 meters high, no big swell, no surf landings or anything like that, but the boat was able to handle those conditions really well. I really appreciated the fact that you can adjust the rocker using the middle jack. You can also adjust the sort of angle of the boat, so depending on the wind direction to stop it sort of weathercocking. It was slower, I would say, than a fiberglass kayak, but probably a similar speed to like a plastic kayak. It was responsive, it held all my gear. At times I had over 20 days of food in it, and it could handle all that really well. It was pretty stable, good secondary stability. I felt pretty confident after getting used to the boat that, it could look after me in the conditions that I was meeting. So that was really great. When it came to heading into the interior and all the portaging, at first it was a shock to the system, not gonna lie, but after a couple of days got a bit of a system in place and it did really well. I was impressed. More comfortable than I would have thought. So I took everything out of the boat, put it into a pack, carried the pack, and then came back for another load and sort of had the boat on my head. So the boat would be facing backwards, sitting on the top of my pack, and then the seat sort of on the top of the head. And yeah, that worked pretty well. And probably the most annoying thing was that I had to repack everything because it's a kayak, it's not a canoe, so that took a bit of time, but we got there. I don't think there's many boats that are as versatile as this one would be. Not only can you pack it up and put it on a plane, which is great, also because I was unsupported and didn't have a vehicle, it was really reassuring to know that if I needed to catch a bus or a train or get a lift at short notice, I could just put the boat into a bag and wasn't having to struggle with the difficulty of transporting a kayak, so a full kayak on the roof of a car. So that was really reassuring. I'm also just not sure that there's many boats that could handle the conditions of open water paddling in Lake Superior and also thrive in the sort of interior, going through all the smaller lakes and the rivers and all the portages. I think it's really special that there is a boat out there that has the flexibility and versatility to be able to handle those different environments and conditions. Okay, now for some cons. So definitely not designed, I don't think, for portaging. But it worked, so after you get used to it, it was fine. But packing and repacking the boat did take quite a lot of time, which is probably not a surprise, but that was, a bit of a learning curve. So I'm pretty sure on the TRAK website it says something like, no natural material can pierce the fabric of the boat. That's definitely not true. If you paddle into a rock, if you impact a rock at high speed, it will crunch the material of the skin, the material of the skin between the rock and the hard frame, and you will get scratches and holes in the boat. It wasn't, trip stopping. It was patchable, but yeah, definitely something that sort of weighed on my mind, something to be aware of. Yeah, it's more the skin at least where it's in contact with the frame, is more delicate than you might want it to be. So as you can see, like anywhere where the frame is sitting along the base of the boat, it's got all these scratches, and then where the sort of internal frame sits here, you can see wherever that's kind of been crunched along on gravel or rocks, it's just put a myriad of holes which I have patched on the trail. Most of them are pretty small, but there were like a few that did put in, you know, sort of significant holes that were filling with water. I tried my best to be as careful with the boat as possible, but when you're out in the conditions that you're in and you have to land in the places that you have to land, it's just kind of inevitable that you're going to be landing on rocks of different shapes and sizes, or if you're in moving water, then you know you might get crunched against some rocks. So I think that was probably the most concerning part, was the number of small holes. But throughout it all, I was able to patch it up and keep us going. I think if I was going to like do another expedition, I would get a patch and just like preemptively patch these two sections here with some thicker fabric. You can see here whatever they've put along the seam here has been really resilient to scratches and hasn't had any holes or punctures in it. So I think I'd put another patch here and there. I think the strength of the frame itself was really impressive. I never had any damage to the frame itself. Never got any cracks. The frame never broke or kind of slipped out. There were a few little places where the sort of bits of the frame click into the ribs, and those little plastic bits kind of got a bit crunched up. I'll show you those in a sec, but it never sort of affected the performance of the boat once it was assembled. You can sort of see where several of these little areas have cracked. You can see this one's just been completely munched. Crunchy. There's a few little things to keep in mind, I think, when paddling a boat like this, but all in all, I would give it like 4.5 stars out of 5. And I don't think you'll find a more versatile boat to take out on an expedition, particularly in remote areas without any vehicle support. So I was a bit skeptical on how the jacks would hold up, but they did great. The only thing, they have a newer model. So I have a TRAK 2.0, but the first generation of the jacks, which is this one, came with the boat, and 2 of them sort of failed when I was trying them out. So I bought 2 of the newer ones, and they've been really great. Haven't had any trouble with them. The only thing is that this one, the old one, as you can see, it doesn't quite extend as much as the new one. So I found having the 2 new ones on the side and then the old one in the middle was the only way to sort of keep the boat balanced. But apart from that, it was great and they worked fine. How to portage your TRAK. Fill up a pack, quite large, but hopefully quite light. Flip your kayak onto your shoulder, facing towards the back. Put your head into the cockpit. Awkwardly walk the kayak back so that the knee braces are sitting on top of the pack. Put your head on the back of the seat, lift it up, look at that. Nicely balanced, not too heavy. Away you go. Portage extraordinaire. So, how to get your bag into the boat. So if you open it up, it has this sort of stiff backing, which gives structure to the bag, but you can pull it out like so, and then slide this bit into the back bit of the boat before you put the seat and then that bit will like fold up and you can shove it right in the very back of the boat there. Snug as. So here's me paddling setup. Fun little front line. Lunch bag, random stuff, frying pan, important piece of safety equipment. And obviously there's no hatches, but the front is this stuff sack. Which is a dry bag full of other dry bags. And then the back has the keter, which can sometimes be a bit of a pain to open, especially one-handed, so I'll do it and then come back. Okay, and once you got the keter open, you've got access to all the space in the back, because obviously you can't get to that because the seat's in the way. It has a like big sock for the back as well, but so far I found it still easier to put dry bags and stuff it up nice and full. So it's got like maybe 20 days worth of food in it at the moment, and I could probably fit like another 10, especially if I put another dry bag on the back here or something.